Let's try this GCSE computer science question. This is from the 2020 series and it is 20 marks, so you'll have around an hour to solve this. Let's go through the question. So you have Fasha, who is a regional manager of a sales team, and she wants a program to calculate the total sales made from each member of the team, then the total sales made across the team, and finally the top 2 performing employees. With the question, you'll be given a data structure, which is in the form of a 2D array. With this, we'll have all the information we need to perform calculations and get the results we need for the question. Let's get started. First, let's go over the data structure. So this is a 2D array. We can think of this simply as a table with rows and columns. In our case, one row is representing one employee record, and a column is representing a category. So in our case, again, we have ID, first name, last name, then 6 months worth of sales data. So how can we go about finding the total sales? What you would practically do without a program is you would go to each row and you would add each value one by one, right? So now you would have each of these values added up, and that is your total per employee. Now you would note these, and then for the second function, you would want to add all of those totals together, right? So a practical way we can do this in programming is using a loop. A loop in this instance is going to go through each of these rows one by one, so we can ultimately use that for loop to do some processing on each record. For the first function, we are creating a for loop. This is going to loop through the main array. Inside this, we are creating a while loop, and what we are doing here is once we reach a certain index, we are going to loop through that, and we will add the consecutive numbers, so the 6 months worth of data. Then we take this final value and we append it to the total sales. So what we are going to do is we are going to take the final value and we are going to write it to a new array, which is going to have all these details plus the total value. So that's the first function done. The second function is quite simple. Now we have the total values in the second array, right? We can loop through this second array. We can add all of these values together. And we don't need to write this anywhere because it's not needed, but we can, if we wanted to, we could write this to a global variable. We are writing this to the team total, then this will get added. And so each time it loops through, you're going to increment it one at a time. Then at the end, once the for loop has finished, then you can return the value and you will have it. You will have the total across all the employees. The final function, we want to find the top 2 employees. There are a few different ways that we can go about this, but the one we are doing here is basically you have 2 positions, right? The top, and so the first and second position. From here, we can take one by one, we can compare both the first and second values, and if we find a value above either of them, we can replace that value and bring the other one down, right? So that's basically the logic of what we're doing here. This does not account for when there are 2, for example, if the total was 100 and you have another value of the exact same issue. We do not account for that, but the question also doesn't require us to account for it, so it should be fine. You shouldn't be losing marks on this. So that's it. Then basically what we are doing here in the final part is we are calling the functions, assigning them to variables, and then printing those variables. So that's it for this question.